All right, guys, I'm getting real close to welding this thing on. So I'm working on, first of all, I want to get this right here. Now, other side, I didn't really worry about it too much because it lined up pretty well. This is the only spot I'm really having trouble with this quarter panel. The other side, I just bent the angle just a hair high, put it in, it worked, it's fine, no biggie. This one, you know, I talked about it before. This was kind of rounded here. It wasn't very crisp, and it has kind of a curve to it like that. So, yeah, kind of fighting with that. And so right now what I'm doing is actually trying to get this lined up in, out, and trying to pull that out a little bit. I can, you know, work on that a little bit as I go. But I want to go ahead and get that actually screwed down into place. So to do that, I have been kind of lazy. I just didn't want to take the quarter panel back off again. So if you'll see, maybe you can kind of see in here, you see I got a couple screws in there. So and you're going to say, well, that's a weird tight spot to get into, and yeah, angles and all that kind of fun stuff. But that's why I use this little drill here, and I just thought you guys would kind of find this interesting. This is a not the kind of drill that, yeah, very few people are going to have one of these. Let's put it that way. But, yeah, come on. I'm trying to sit you guys up here. But anyway, this is a kind of a fancy drill here, and you guys are falling, and you just won't stay put. Yeah, plastic garbage. Oh, come on. All right, maybe I can do this one-handed. But anyway, you can see that hole way down there. Here's a hole down over there, and you can see the bit there. So basically, all I'm going to do is just kind of drill a hole up here, and then come back and put a screw in. That's the lazy way of doing it when you don't want to take it back off and you kind of got things lined up. And I'm kind of crying here because those are nice solid carbide bits, and I don't have any steel ones, and I hate wasting them on this, but that's what I got. So, yeah, I've got it all loose up here because I want as much movement downwards that I can kind of pinch it into place as I can get. So I'm going to get that screwed into place down there. That'll actually be the last thing I weld in, most likely. It's kind of like the other side. Last things I welded on the other side were the bottom here and this here. I got everything else first, with these just being screwed into place. So yeah, gonna be interrupted by a rack of ribs on the grill right now. So I might get it. I don't know if I'll get this welded on today, but that's just some of the issues. And I know that Grease Rookie was having a lot of issues with this over here, and mine is the exact same way. This piece here, it comes along straight, and then it makes a hump going up. I've even tapped that down some, and it's still not quite enough. So yeah, that's just a manufacturing issue. All right, well, I've got this pretty well lined up. I did have to actually twist this door a little bit, and that's because this door has been reskinned. And when you do that, you know, any warp in the inner shell is going to translate. But it's nice you leave it loose, because actually what I had to do is actually twist the top out just a little bit to make the fender welt on there's a gap on the inside, not fender welt, but the doohickey stuff on the edge of the door thingy, you know, that stuff that clips on, you know, yeah, that U-shaped stuff. Okay, you know, it goes on there to make sure that gap was even all the way up. I had to kind of twist this door and pull it out so the top came out a little bit. So I got this quarter panel really pretty close to where it needs to be. It's not exact. Doesn't really matter. It's not just welded. I've just got screws in there holding it. I can fine tune as I go, but it's really, really close. May need just tiny little bumping. And the top is turning out a little bit better as well. And I will say is I use these magnets on the doors, but when you have this door the way I do and is not all put together, don't open it from the top, because once you'll twist the door, you'll get it into place, you'll get it all lined up nice, but as soon as you grab this to open it, this holds so tight that you're going to pull your door out of alignment. You're going to twist it again. So reach down and pull here, grab here, and gently open up the door, because this holds pretty tight. But now I just want to show one little tidbit of things. Down in here. Well, for one, anytime you put your vice grips in the drawer, make sure they're nice and tight and clipped together, because if they're all sprung open, it's a real pain in the butt. But anyway, I'm kind of done using the Clecos here for temporary purposes, and now I'm putting vice grips on here to hold it nice and tight. Now, what I like to do is take, these standard little welding vice grips, and on here I've got some of this really heavy duty, it's that felt that you put on furniture and stuff like that. This is just some long strips that were in a big assortment pack. This is not the flimsy stuff. This stuff is pretty hard, actually. And put that on there, and that way you don't mar up the outside. And then just take here, wrap that around, and then once you get it set for enough compression, you're fine for no matter where you go. And then that gap gives you a spot that you can come back with your vice grips, come in right between them where it's nice and tight. Boom, done. And that way you're not having to bump this, bump that. You're actually holding on both sides. You got something in the middle. You just go around, clip, done. And you can just work your way around. And with these pads on here, you're not scratching up, and you're probably gonna dent this anyway. And it's paper thin. It's half the thickness of the original one, but it will limit the amount of damage that you do to the sheet metal out here. Because this stuff, even though it's felt and it's soft, it's actually quite supportive. Spreads the load out, so it's not too bad. But it works pretty good. And I'm going to work a little bit around here, and I've still got to pull that kind of back into place there. So I'm just basically at the point now where I am going to get it into its final position and at some point start welding it on, which is not going to be today. I got an hour with the ribs wrapped up, and I'm going to unwrap them and do some sauce on them, take some to the neighbor. He's working on his Miatas over there, putting a supercharger on one of them. So yeah, and it's cold, and I don't want to start the heater up and burn more propane. So yeah, I'll get this all set up, ready to go, ready to weld, exactly where I want it to be today. And after that, we'll be welding it on at some point. So yeah, that's just a couple little tips here. That's about all I got. Okay, it's 10 minutes later. Ribs aren't ready yet. So another thing I want to talk about really quickly here is I showed this earlier when I was, I believe when I was cutting the quarter panel off. I made these marks down here, down the trunk lid. Now this is a 10-inch-ish from here, basically where the point of this should be. And from here to here, here to here, and here to here. Now the reason I did this, and the same thing on the other side, is it just gives me something to index off of. Now, if I measure here at the top, I'm pretty much right at 10 inches. I'm just maybe a shade wide. Now, if I come down here, I'm almost an eighth of an inch. I won't edit that out. I'm too lazy to do it. All right, so I am almost an eighth wide here. Right now, I am measuring in just not quite an eighth there, but it's not far off from it, but it is wide. And the reason for that is because this piece here is kind of angled out. It's not pulled in, which I've talked about before. And also, this right here, instead of coming down nice and straight, this actually kind of flares off out that way. So I've removed a little bit of material here, so this can kind of be tapped back around, straighten that out. And what I will do is basically just manhandle this thing kind of like that into place. So what I will probably do is shove it over, grab a drill, run a screw in it, or just drill a hole, and that way I could put it against, I'm sorry, that side, you know, do that. Either that or I'll grab a clamp and I'll clamp it and pull it over with a clamp, which would be the operative way, but I can't find one. All I can find is my little short ones or my really long ones. My medium ones are on holiday at the minute. So I will pull that over, and what I will do is fasten that right in here on this one. And that way, because I've still got to have, now this is, using this as essentially this factory alignment hole. That's just an extension. It fits the hole just right. And that lines up this. You can still a little in and out, but what I want to do is push this over, get a screw in here, and then I can kind of play with alignment here and here to match the extension that goes on here. And these little scratches you see here, that's from this little light right here, before I put the tape on it. Put some tape on it. Makes it a lot easier to clean all the crap off, because if you don't, and you do that and you pick it up, you slide it a little bit, it scratches the crap out of everything. So put some tape on it. Makes it easier to wipe the crap off of it, wipe all the shavings off. You know, a lot of tips today. But yeah, there we are. A little more piddling and we'll have it ready.